Good evening and welcome. Thank you for joining us to celebrate and officially mark a new era for a beloved Heights school. Before we begin our program, I'd like to first announce the special guests we have in the audience. Please stand and give a wave as your name is called. Our State Senator, Kent Smith. Cleveland Heights Mayor Tony Kuda and his team members. University Heights Mayor Michael Dillon Brennan and his team members. Cleveland Heights City Council President Gail Larson. County Councilman Michael Hauser. We have representatives from our wonderful partners, the Heights Libraries, Building Heights, City Year, PTA Council, Lake Erie Inc., and Church on the Heights. If you're here, any of those groups, please stand. Our Baumgardner Middle School staff, Principal Josh Luton and Assistant Principal Elisa Levy. Our Board of Education, President Malia Lewis, Vice President Gabe Crenshaw, and board members Jody Serini and Phil Trimble. Our Chief Financial Officer, Angel Latham. And, of course, our honored guest of the evening, Dr. Jane Baumgardner Savoy, along with her family and friends. Please stand. So, what better way to start the evening than with some beautiful and inspiring music? So I am asking you to join me in welcoming Baumgardner Middle School 8th graders Honesty Fortner and Athena Hunter to the stage.
Into the sun. Weight on my shoulders, a bullet in. Oh, I got eyes in the back of my head, just in case I had to run. The clouds roll back and the stars fill the night. That's when I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Do you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. I can feel it. before the sun begins to shine. We're gonna start moving toward the separating line. I'm wading through muddy waters. You know I gotta made up mind. And I don't mind if I lose any blood on the way to salvation. And I'll fight with the strength that I got until I die. So I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home. Far across the river, do you hear freedom calling? Calling me to answer. Gonna keep on keeping on. And I know what's around the bend might be hard to face 'cause I'm alone. And I just might fail, but Lord knows I'll try. Just as fill up the sky. Stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home. Far across the river, do you hear freedom calling? Calling me to answer. Gonna keep on keeping on. I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home. Far across the river, do you hear freedom calling? Calling me to answer. Gonna keep on keeping on. I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home. Far across the river, I hear freedom calling, calling me to answer. Gonna keep on keeping on. I can feel it in my bones.
Now that's the way to get us started. Woo. Well, Principal Luton said that the students could really sing their lungs out, and I see what you were talking about. Thank you, Athena and Honesty. And also want to thank our ladies of leadership who are our hostesses this evening. Thank you, ladies. Great job, great job. I'm going to take those words. I need to listen to that every morning, actually. When you think of a dedication event, you might envision the ribbon cutting of a newly constructed building serving a new purpose for its community. Tonight isn't your typical dedication. Although this school building has seen improvements since it was first dedicated, notably major renovations back in 2019, thanks to the support of our wonderful community, this school has existed for 95 years. It's been serving its neighborhood for nearly a century. But now the school enters its next chapter under a new name that represents achievement, courage, and most importantly, equitable representation of our students. That makes tonight a very special dedication, as I'm sure you will all agree. So how do we get to this moment of change? Here's a brief history. In 2024, the district began exploring the possibility of renaming Monticello Middle School due to its namesake's connection to the deplorable history of slavery in the United States. Current and former students, staff, families, and community members have the opportunity to learn about the history of the Monticello plantation and share their opinions about renaming the school through multiple channels. The data that was collected gave the board the confidence they needed to move forward with renaming the school. And so the board approved a motion to ensure that the school had a new name by the start of the 25-26 school year. Then came the hard part, picking that new name. The district solicited applications from our school community to serve on the Monticello Renaming Task Force, which is charged with creating a list of at least 3 potential new names for the board's consideration. The task force set to work, putting in many hours of discussion, research, and collaboration. One of the 3 names that the task force put on their short list was a name they'd never heard before. History professor Mark Souther, who's here tonight and will speak in just a short while, shared the Baumgardner story with the task force as they were researching possible names. The group determined that this name deserved a spot on the list, and the board's final selection of Baumgardner Middle School was unanimous. I want to once again thank everyone who contributed their thoughts during our information gathering phase. I also want to thank the renaming task force, as well as the local historians who contributed their time and knowledge to this initiative. If you are part of the renaming task force or contributed to their research, please stand. I want to also acknowledge Elisa Bray, who was one of the first, for me, the first person that reached out questioning why we still had a school named Monticello given its history. And it really pushed us to really rethink what we wanted to stand for, both as a school but also as a school district. And this was 6 years ago. So thank you for that. Like everything we do in the Heights, this was a team effort, and I'm very proud that this work led us to this moment here tonight. As I invite Board Vice President Gabe Crenshaw to the stage, I also want to acknowledge Kathan Kavanaugh, who is our Supervisor of Communications, who led on this project for the past year and a half. Thank you, Kathan. All right, and Gabe Crenshaw.
Thank you, Superintendent Kirby, and thank you to everyone who has played any role in this process, especially my colleagues who voted unanimously for this change, so thank you. Tonight represents more than a decision. It represents a shift in consciousness. I have always believed that words have power. They can build bridges or they can burn them. They can heal wounds or they can deepen them. A single word can shift the direction of someone's day or their destiny because words carry meaning, memory, and emotion. Names, in particular, hold a special kind of power. They are the first words we own, the first way the world recognizes us. When someone says your name with care, they see you. They honor your story, your family, your identity. But when a name is misused, dismissed, or erased, it can feel like you are being erased. That's why this change was necessary. I understood the subconscious harm being inflicted on Black children by attending a school that bore the name of a place where they would have had a vastly different experience. You see, at Thomas Jefferson's Monticello in Charlottesville, Virginia, enslaved children were born into a world that denied them freedom before they could even speak the word. Their childhoods were marked not by play and learning, but by labor, violence, and bondage. By the age of 10, many were already working long hours, cooking in kitchens and working the fields. They lived with the constant uncertainty, knowing that at any moment, their families could be separated and sold away. Imagine that for a moment, being a child, yet carrying burdens no child shall ever bear. To some, the Monticello here in Cleveland Heights was just a name, just a school named after a street. They couldn't see the connection to the Monticello in Virginia. But to me, the connection was undeniable. Even the architecture mirrors the one in Charlottesville. It was a name that carried the weight of history, and that history could not be ignored. Now, I understand that these conversations can be uncomfortable for some. Talking about race, power, and history often is, but we must ask ourselves, whose comfort are we centering? At a time when words like woke and equity have been twisted into insults by those who fear our young people learning history through a more honest lens, we must remain steadfast. At a time when truth tellers and change makers are being silenced for challenging the status quo, we must continue to speak up. At a time when civil rights are being chipped away and policies threaten to take us back to a world like the one my own mother was raised in the segregated South, we must remember that the struggle for justice is not behind us, it's still before us. That's why this change is so meaningful. Now we have the name Baumgardner, and I'll admit at first I wasn't sure about the name being after a person, but what an inspiration. Yes, what an inspiration to have learned about Dr. Baumgardner and his family, a family who refused to be intimidated by acts of racial terrorism. Dr. Baumgardner stood firm in the face of hatred and violence, and what a blessing to have his daughter, Dr. Savoy, here with us today. A woman who was just a baby when their home was bombed with dynamite because her parents chose to live in this city and to stand up for what was right. Their courage reminds us that progress is never easy. It requires conviction, it requires sacrifice, and it requires people who are willing to use their voices and their actions to shape the future. So as we embrace this new name, let's also embrace the responsibility that comes with it. Let's teach our children that words matter, that names matter, and that history, when told truthfully, can be a guide toward justice. When we choose our words with purpose, we don't just communicate, we connect. We affirm dignity, we build belonging, and tonight we have done exactly that. Thank you. Now I am pleased to introduce Cleveland State University Professor of History, Dr. Mark Souther.
Good afternoon. Baumgardner Middle School honors a family who chose Cleveland Heights as their home, but had to display extraordinary courage to defend their right to live here. Dr. Luther Baumgardner was an African-American physician who was born in South Carolina in 1896 and grew up in Clarendon County, which would later become the location of one of the 5 cases joined together to form Brown versus Board of Education of Topeka, Kansas. Dr. Baumgardner earned his medical degree from Howard University. He moved to Cleveland in 1921 and married Myrtle Robinson, who had grown up first in Cleveland's Huff neighborhood and then in East Cleveland. She and her husband lived in her parents' East Cleveland home before buying a house of their own on Wilmar Road, just off Mayfield Road in Cleveland Heights in 1937. The following year, they moved into their house with their young daughters Gretchen and Jane. 5 nights later, the Baumgardners and their neighbors' windows shattered in near unison as Dr. Baumgardner was tucking Jane into bed. A stick of dynamite had blown a jagged crater in their front lawn. About a week later, the Cleveland Heights police reported finding a note warning harm if the Baumgardners moved in. Sadly, the threat of violence against African Americans trying to buy homes in formerly all-white suburbs was all too common in Cleveland and across the nation. We were no exception. I learned of the Baumgardners' experience when I did research for an article for the Journal of Urban History a few years ago. Cleveland Heights now highlights its history as a progressive community that chose a path toward integration rather than becoming a residential revolving door. But to begin the story in the midst of the civil rights era also misses an earlier important chapter. When I began uncovering examples of earlier black homeowners overcoming great odds to buy homes in the Heights in the 1920s and 1930s, I thought that this was a Cleveland Heights story that deserved to be more widely known. These earlier newcomers forged their own way at a time when it was much harder to find white allies in the suburbs. Of the 10 black families who bought or built houses in our city before 1960, 5 of them endured house bombings motivated by race hate. The Baumgardners, like 3 of the other 4 families scarred by racial violence, refused to be intimidated into leaving. Luther and Myrtle Baumgardner became longstanding Heights citizens, sending their daughters through the Heights public schools, including where we are gathered today. On their way to graduating from Heights High, Gretchen graduated in 1948 and Jane in 1955. After Myrtle Baumgardner passed away, Dr. Luther Baumgardner continued to make his home on Wilmar Road until he died in 1976. When the Cleveland Heights University Heights School District asked if I had suggestions to add to those that they had already received for potential new school names, ones that might resonate with the local community, I immediately thought of the Baumgardners. Their story, as I mentioned, is not unique, but it does offer us an opportunity to acknowledge the struggles that went along with pursuing the dream of equality, and to do so by remembering a couple and their broader family who made the most of what a Cleveland Heights, University Heights education could provide, providing their daughters, positioning their daughters for successful, fulfilling professional careers of their own. And now, without further ado, it's my great honor and pleasure to introduce Jane Baumgardner Savoy. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. This is a remarkable occasion, and I can't help but think about what my parents' reaction would be to see this kind of honor placed on them. I will have to do all the details for them, but I'm sure they are watching and enjoying every minute. My parents were obviously an unusual group. The kids have asked me, why didn't you tell me about this or that? But they didn't talk about their past and the problems that they had. And actually their attitude when we came home with problems was, in modern days, get over it and keep on going. Was there name calling? Of course. Were there things we had to fight? Of course. Were there some teachers who, in looking back, I would now smack them? Of course. But my parents' attitude was, get over it, keep on going. And so they didn't let us get distracted. And one of the things I wanted to say today was to keep that in mind, because in today's day and time, there is so much going on in terms of, as was mentioned, it's like we're going back and having to deal with things that we thought were resolved already. And some of that behavior on the part of people who are doing that to distract from, and to distract us and to distract the country in general from being able to continue on the path to success for everyone. And that is something for all of us to keep in mind, because when we read in the paper and on television and everything that's going on, it's easy to get caught up in these individual things. And our success depends on being able to keep on going and not let that distract us from our mission. And I can look back on this, and I did my own research and had to do some refreshing of history. But remember, episodes like we are experiencing now have happened in the past. For those of you who may have studied or possibly remember, during World War II and leading up to World War II, there was a whole fascist movement in this country. And the country had to deal with it. And so here we are again, and it's important to recognize we did it before, we can do it now. And those were the lessons that we learned, that Gretchen and I learned from our parents. They were no nonsense. They were no-nonsense people, and they came from no-nonsense people. So in looking back at all of this, I think there were a couple questions about, well, what did you all do for fun? Well, I go, let me think. But we did have fun, but we were always focused on what was ahead of us in terms of our job. What was our job? What did we need to do? We were very fortunate. Because our parents were so dedicated to achieving success and to do their best to make sure that we achieved success. And so it really is it's a family task, a family responsibility that can help make us continue on the right path to the achievements that we want to accomplish. There were some, as I was making notes about some of the memories that I have, and in particular, well, what kinds of things did I remember from the stress times? And I would tell the story of what I can remember about the bombing as, it was certainly loud. I don't remember it, but I remember taking notes in my 9-month-old diary that said, wow, this is a tough world. And I kind of realized it at that point that I was going to have to work very hard. That picture, if you've seen it, of my sister and myself, everybody laughs at that because you can see the look on my face. Yes, that one. Okay, and the picture firstborn, that is my dad holding my sister. And she was a much more precious little thing than I was, because I came into the world with some serious weight and purpose. So we made a good combination. This is a picture of my parents when they were young, probably just shortly after their marriage. And they were in Washington, D.C. My dad went to Howard University for undergraduate as well as graduate. Now, the interesting pieces that you may not know, he grew up in a family that was very education-oriented. His dad taught at what is Allen College or University. I've forgotten which word they use now for it. But it was a college that when we went to visit the home, it's not far from where they were living. And the dad was on the faculty there. He taught philosophy and math. Okay, quite a combination, right? Okay, and his wife, my dad's mom, was a very powerful woman. I can remember my mom even talking about her when she came to visit. You know, she was very strong-willed and not to be messed with. And you can see that in the messages that she gave to my dad, because one of the things that he was adamant about was that we got our education and trained so that when we finished our education, which he insisted was past college, he wanted a profession from us, that we would always be independent women. And you could be married, but we would not be dependent on the husband for support or should something go wrong. And that is a very special message, because that was before the women's rights movement became as active as it was. I think it was taking place as I was finishing my own studies. But at that point, women just had gotten the vote. Women could not open their own charge accounts. Women could not buy a house on their own. Women could not sign financial contracts to have work done. So when you stop and think about that, I mean, you know, for me, I remember that in my lifetime. For those of you who are young, you go, oh, that could never have been, but that was what we were dealing with. So as I said, and I want you to recognize that none of that will continue without your recognizing that you have to fight for it. Okay. It's not a God-given right. You understand? Because it can be changed like that. All you need is someone writing the laws and crossing that one out, crossing the next one out. So you you need to understand so much that this country, being a democracy and having a constitution that does have laws, and that some of this is in law, that can be overturned, you have to know that you have to fight for that, and that these are important things that now are under stress and possible change. Okay? So again, it's knowing your history, knowing these kinds of things can happen, and being there with knowledge. That's why school is so important. I will say, I think you learn facts. What I learned from my education was you learn facts and how to keep them in your mind in elementary school, middle school, and even high school. Okay. Then you learn what to do with those facts. You start to think, and you learn critical thinking, and you learn to recognize truth from falsehoods. And those are things that you will need. Those are skills you're going to need, because every day you are getting information that you should challenge. But you have to know that you can challenge it and how to challenge it. And so that's what education is, learning that process so that that's how you go through your own life and how you help others follow in that same path. So just to go through a few of the other things that I thought about, that were school memories. For myself, as much as I can think about the name calling and the this and the that, my family was the ones, as I said previously, they were the ones who just said, get over it, keep going, and accomplish your goals and establish the goals that were important to me. School activities, I did lots of different things. I think I told in an earlier interview, I had set certain goals, like I was going to be a gym cadet so that no one could boss me around during gym class. I would be the boss. And that worked. I also, of course, was in music, Glee Club, and so forth. Again, the schools have to keep art programs going. That's an important thing. That is what enlarges your world. Your world. Where would we be without music and writing and artwork? Those are all things that we need to keep in mind, are things that make our culture our culture. Okay. As I said, my parents' role in all of this was amazingly intense, and I can appreciate their efforts. I have for years, and I think it shows the effect that parenting can have on, and the need for them to be involved and be on the same page. As for I've worked with many families whose parents, had terrible experiences in school, and it was a matter of helping them work through that so that they could be on the team to get their kids the education that was needed. And I'm sure many of you in the school, who are school teachers and staff, recognize that you have to get the parents on your team. And it's interesting, we've had now instances of where the law keeps changing, and oh dear, you can't do this and you can't do that, in trying to facilitate that process. But you can't deny the fact that that's what's needed. Let's see, my last comments will be on the fact that it's not that we never had fun or enjoyment in our family. It was that when we did, we could really appreciate it. And it wasn't something that was a given for every day. My dad worked hard. He was a brilliant man. And as you will see from his history, you just keep turning the pages and you go, really? He did that? And he did that? And you have to recognize he was the first in so many things. He was the first doctor when they moved here. He was a physician and surgeon. He was already recognized from his training at Howard University. And so when he came here, he needed privileges at the hospitals to be able to do the work for his patients. And the funny story that he used to tell was that, one of the hospitals originally accepted him because with his name, I think it was Mount Sinai, with his name, he sounded Jewish. So he was on the list to be approved for privileges, and then they had to work it out when he came and appeared in person. But he worked it out, and he started his practice, and his patients were receiving services at Mount Sinai. He also realized, though, that during that time, it was not always a friendly atmosphere for his black patient population. And so he worked very hard to one, find other hospitals that, while they still had some of the same prejudice problems, that he found some were more accepting. Additionally, he was active in founding what was called Forest City Hospital, that really addressed the black physicians to be able to have their patients seen in a hospital that was accepting just in general black patients. Okay, and so he was on the board. He helped found it. And did a lot of work to keep that going as long as it was necessary. One light note on my dad: he had a very good sense of humor, and he loved cars. And you know, during that time period, cars were making big changes. One of the ways he tested them was he would get the car and he had found the hill. I don't know where it was now, but he would test the car as how fast it went up the hill, as to what the horsepower was and how effective it was. And so that was, think about now, you never even consider that. But it used to be a big thing, can this car make it up the hill this fast and without coughing on the way? So he had many things that he had just enjoyed. He had a good sense of humor. He could speak different languages. He was sort of like a Renaissance man, I have to say, when I thought about what he really was like. So I say all that to say, I'm so thankful and grateful to you all for recognizing this in him and honoring him with naming a school for him. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Savoy. So many lessons just from your remarks. You shared that you came into the world with purpose, and you still clearly have that purpose and that fight. I love your message on not being distracted and staying focused, the importance of knowing your history, the importance of developing critical thinking skills, especially in the times that we are living in today. And the notion of school being important and how serious that is. I'm so glad that we have students who can hear this message, and we'll be sharing this message even at the conclusion of this ceremony. I just have a sense we are in a moment of history. This feels like a historical moment we are in, and I'm just so honored that we're able to honor the Baumgardner family for all that you have done, all you have accomplished in challenging times. So thank you. So now I'm going to invite Cleveland Heights Mayor Tony Kuda to the stage to read an official proclamation from the city.
Good evening, everybody. I'm not just the mayor, I am a Cleveland Heights High School graduate. I did go to Roosevelt. Was Roosevelt there? I'm sorry. Was Roosevelt there when you went to? Okay. What an honor it is to celebrate with Dr. Jane Savoy and her family. Of the Wilmar Road Baumgardners. You'll always be known as the Wilmar Road Baumgardners. We've already had the highlight of this, but I do want to commemorate this historic occasion. with this proclamation, which I will read. If I get my glasses out. The font is not as big as it used to be. Whereas we celebrate the process and decision that led to the changing of the name of Monticello Middle School to Baumgardner Middle School before the start of the 25-26 school year, and whereas we elevate the story of Dr. Luther O. Baumgardner, a black physician originally from South Carolina who moved to Cleveland in 1921 after finishing medical school at Howard University. He and his wife Myrtle and their young daughters, Gretchen and Jane, moved in 1938 to a house they had purchased on Wilmer Road in Cleveland Heights. Whereas we honor the courage of the Baumgardner family had in refusing to be intimidated into leaving after a racially motivated incident, and further, Gretchen and Jane went to attend Monticello Middle School and graduate from Cleveland Heights High School, classes of 1948 and June 1955, respectively. Whereas we recognize the perseverance of the Baumgardner family and the Heights community in rising above the challenges of bigotry and embodying Cleveland Heights as an integrated community that today lives its motto, all are welcome. Whereas the Baumgardner family story is one of courage, tenacity, and achievement, and so are the stories of Heights students past, present, and future. Therefore, on behalf of the City of Cleveland Heights and a grateful public, we issue this proclamation of appreciation for their commitment to Cleveland Heights and offer our congratulations on the dedication of Baumgardner Middle School.
Next, we have a proclamation from County Councilman Michael Hauser.
Good afternoon. My son asked why was Tony up here and we weren't, so I told him he can come with me. I will not stand in the way of unveiling this plaque. Just very quickly, on behalf of District 10, Cowell County Council, we recognize the Baumgardner Middle School and urge all residents to join in honoring the Baumgardner family and celebrating this defining chapter in our community's history. I have been involved in many school renamings, including turning Patrick Henry into the Stephanie Tubbs Jones Elementary School. This is such an honor to be here. I've learned so much today. It's truly about family, which is why I have not only my son, but my mother here. And so we can give my mother a hand, yep. And so honored to be here with you all. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to this plaque revealing. Thank you.
All right. And finally, tonight, we are honored and excited to reveal to you the beautiful plaque that will be installed at the entrance of the school. I'm going to ask our Board of Education, Principal Luton and Assistant Principal Levy, Mayors Kuda and Michael Dillon Brennan, and also our County Councilman and State Senator to join us on stage. Come on up, please. Should I move this? Or move this? No, I'll move it. Okay. So if you could gather around the plaque.
We won't be able to see it until we get on stage.
All right. I'm trying to move it. It's kind of hard to move. Okay. All right. So here is what the plaque says, then we'll do the big reveal. To align with our district's ongoing commitment to equity and inclusion, this school was renamed to remove the name of a plantation where people were enslaved. The Board of Education chose the name Baumgardner to honor one of the first Black families to buy a house in Cleveland Heights. In 1938, shortly after moving into their home, the Baumgardners suffered a bombing attack. The family refused to be intimidated into leaving. The Baumgardner daughters, Gretchen and Jane, went on to attend Monticello Middle School and graduated from Cleveland Heights High School. The Baumgardner family's story is one of courage, tenacity, and achievement. So are the stories of Heights students, past, present, and future. So here is So that concludes our evening. I'm going to ask the Baumgardner family to come to the stage now. We'd like to get a picture of you around the plaque as well. So please come up, Baumgardner friends and family. Friends and family. We'll do one with family. And then we'll do one with friends. Okay. All right. First photo will be family. Second photo will be friends and family. Yes. And then staff members, if you want to stick around, we'll do a picture with staff. So first we'll do family,
All right, thank you.
and then we'll do friends and family. You got friends and family? Are there friends to call up?
Yeah, everyone's here.
Oh, you already got it right. Okay, okay. All right. So she's okay. All right. Okay, if you could say some of the staff want to take a picture. So Baumgardner staff. Miss Levy, you want to come up?
Did you leave papers up there, or did you? I have all your papers.
Yeah. Yeah, these are all mine.
Okay.
Yes.
They're right here. It's a car here too.
And we just want to give you some flowers. The board, you guys want? One more. To the board. Board of Education. Jody. Just the board. Okay. This is like a wedding. Sorry. I promise it's the last picture.